I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 7:07 by my watch. Welcome to the Lee Selectboard. Our first order of business is the open session minutes for February 7th.
I move we accept the meeting, the minutes of the February 7th meeting.
I'll second that motion.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next order of business, we have public comment. If we have any public comments, please stand and come to, I think this microphone will work.
Hello, I'm Kathy Hall from the Lee Youth Commission. The Lee Youth Commission is offering evening activities for the February vacation from the 20th to the 24th. Check the light tower to indicate everything is all set for that night. Tennis and pickleball Monday through Friday from 5:30 to 7, weather permitting. Social time games and get-together on this Wednesday, tomorrow, February 22nd, from 6:30 to 7:30. Hot chocolate and donuts are going to be provided by the Lee Youth Commission. When we have activities, it's because of the people who help us. Here's the list. Thank you to Fire Chief Ryan Brown and the Fire Department for bringing the light tower to the Lee Athletic Field for this week's activities. Thank you to the following people who helped us advertise for activities at the Lee Athletic Field during February school vacation. Chris Britton, town website, Colleen Cordy, Facebook and the Lee Youth Commission page, Acting Principal Father Matthew Barone at St. Mary's School, and Superintendent Michael Richard at Lee Public Schools for their parent newsletters, and Jeannie Maschino, Berkshire Eagle Calendar. Also, thank you to Jen Carlino and Julia Warner, who lent us equipment from the Physical Education Department at Lee Elementary School, and to Barbara Ecker for helping us to set up the pickleball nets. Please join us for these activities, weather permitting. Other comments? Someone asked me if I knew if Lee was going to have a Dollar General. When there are thoughts about what could be happening in Lee, could there be a heads up at these meetings? So I don't know who had said something about the Dollar General, but I couldn't answer the question because I had no idea. And now finally, the forum on Saturday was fabulous. Sean, you did an outstanding job. It gave everyone an opportunity to have a voice about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and weaknesses about our town. Oh no, I'm sorry. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats about our town. The interaction was refreshing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy. Any other public comments? Nothing else. I'll move on to general business. Our first item in general business is an update from the planning board. Buck?
Sure.
I'll hand it off to you. I don't think you need to point that to. Is that going to pick them up pretty well, just as it is?
Okay like that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Buck Donovan, I'm the current chair of the planning board. We meet every second and fourth Tuesday, Monday of the month, 6 o'clock in the courtroom. Our weekly business usually consists of site plans, Form As, pre-existing non-conforming is another big thing goes on. Besides that, we have an ongoing zoning changes we do. Well, back up a minute. Also, right now, the master plan, that's huge. Every meeting, we get an update on that. And like Kathy already said, the SWOT format was great. Street, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. I think it gave everybody a good time to, acknowledge and say what they wanted to say about it. So we get updates. Peter Blum is on the board and he's chairing the master plan committee. Then that's the most professional I've seen anything. The literature that goes out, the survey, it's going very well, I think. So we get updates on that and we discuss some of that. Ask Peter about it. Zoning topics, we've been working on split zoning and waste storage, dumpsters. We've finished that and we have a hearing scheduled for March 13th. In a nutshell, what that is we have some pieces of property that they'll actually be in two different zones in town. And it's always been an issue. You know, a lot of times they might be in a business zone, but it ends up being too small to really do a business, so it ends up a dead property off the tax roll and just not happening. This way, we developed a split zone bylaw where they can go under special permit, so the board would have to okay it, and they'd be able to do certain, the frontage would be the prevailing zone. But that'd all be special permits, so there's, a process there. And waste storage dumpsters, we, for, past 6-8 years, any new site plan, we've been requiring them to enclose their dumpster. So we got caught in a technicality that really brought this up, the new grow facility on 102. Go by and it's like, there's their dumpster. So we inquire about it and they say, it's enclosed by an open chain link fence. Like, okay, you got us. So we wrote a bylaw for it. Basically, like you said, you try to do the good nature and then somebody finds that loophole, so you gotta close it. Other ongoing zoning that we're working on are accessory dwelling units and short-term rental bylaws. Those are still ongoing, so when we get closer to a hearing, you guys will see that. All right, and then you guys know the process, but everybody else, how it happens. Zoning board develops the zoning bylaw. We have a public hearing on it. Once we have finished the public hearing, voted on it, we send it on to the selectmen to be put on the warrant for the town meeting. And then the whole town votes on it now, not just reps. So then it gets fun. When we think we have it all done, more comes out. So, any questions?
Yeah, I just think, are you guys planning on bringing anything to this town meeting? Because I know we had a bunch of
Yep,
bylaw changes.
the split zoning and dumpsters are gonna be on this town meeting. If we can get accessory dwellings done by then, we'd like to see that. That's, with the housing market and everything, I think that's a pretty good option. We've been talking about it for years. It's just, gotta do it. And that, we just started last week on that, so
Might
we'll
take
see.
some time.
Yeah, see how quick it goes. Okay,
Bob, Gordon?
Yep. Well, I'll let Bob go first.
anything, Bob, or?
No, just thank you very much.
Sure.
And I couldn't agree with you more about the town plan, the meeting that we had.
That was wonderful. That was it was so positive. It was really good to see people.
We had a great turnout.
Yeah, we did.
I knew like 2 people in my whole group. And people from October Mountain condos and I have I'm a transplant. 30-year transplant, but I'm a transplant.
Well, before you go away, some of the terms you threw out there, I don't know, this is a lot of, my original thoughts for having all the different boards come in.
Yep.
Was to let people at home know what you do, kind of things.
Oh.
When you talk about, it's a Form A, we do this,
Okay.
it's like,
All right.
nobody knows what a Form A,
Yeah,
I
sure.
know what it
Okay.
is. If you could explain a Form
Okay.
A, the difference between a Form A and a subdivision plan,
Okay,
and your
basically,
jobs and
and you'll-
butters and all that stuff.
In a Form A is if a person has a large piece of property, they can come in with the help of a surveyor and they split up that piece of property. It's not a subdivision, it's just, say if your neighbor wants to buy 50 feet off you, you do a Form A, you sell that 50 feet to your neighbor. You can't make a non-conforming lot out of it, really. It still has to, conform to all current zoning when you transfer that. But that's a way to transfer land, even to break up land, families do it all the time. Brother will own next door, another brother wants to sell the land, you just do a Form A, you cut the land off. It's a process that has to go through. Site plans, there's criteria in the town, pretty much whenever there, well, yes, not pretty much. Every time there's a special permit, no matter who has it, planning board, ZBA, or select board, has to go through site plan first. The planning board looks at the site plan. That can be as easy as a standard, or simple, a small site plan, couple sketches on a piece of paper, or it could be a full engineered, depending the size of the project. Everything on Main Street, DCBC zone, which is Main Street, has to have a site plan. Doesn't have to have a special permit. Some things need site plans without a special permit, like everything on Main Street. Housatonic Street, CBC also. And then when you get into size of projects, they have to have site plans. You know, and we recently divided it up. It used to just say site plan with all this long list of criteria. And people would go out. I watched, it was really sad, the post when she opened up. She read it, she went right by the rules, and it was just a little restaurant change. And she hired an engineer, spent a lot of money, came in with this it was a great presentation, but it wasn't necessary. She spent a bunch of money that she didn't need to. So it's like, that really facilitated us to say, we gotta change this. Mm-hmm. So we did, and now we have a small version, large version. You have something like, you know, Big Y Supermarket. That's definitely gonna be a large site plan, traffic study, all that. Pre-existing non-conforming permits. If there's a piece of property that had a use or their setbacks were prior to our zoning, which were enacted in the 70s.
72.
Okay. Were you good there?
I was not on it.
Sorry, had to. Sorry, buddy.
I'm gonna be coming back at it, so tell me what.
So, and there are properties, a lot around town that either their setbacks are pre-zoning or their use is pre-zoning. If they want to do anything to that, any building permit has to get a special permit through the planning board for pre-existing non-conforming use or property. And do a lot of that. There's a lot of different findings you have to do. Special permits have all the 5 findings with reasoning, right, Gordon? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, actually we saw who got in trouble for that. Sheffield, Great Barrington.
A lot of people.
A lot of them. They did not give reasons for their findings, so that's what we work on. And the zoning process, how we've been doing it lately is we have one guy, Peter Blum. He was a land use lawyer for the state of Vermont, so he's a great asset. He's been doing a lot of our zoning. And then him and Conrad Decker, who also has a lot of land use experience, they've been working together as a subcommittee and then kind of bringing it to the board. We churn it out and get a working product eventually. That's about what we do. It's not fun. It's not, you know, it's work. It's work. It's only 2 nights a month. It's no problem.
I have a follow-up. When you're talking about the split zones, I know what you're talking about. Most people may or may not know. It's, you know, as you described. Can you tell us at this point, if you're going to be having a hearing on it, just give people a heads up ahead of time, how are you working there? Are you giving them another 100 feet or the same distance? Are you making the whole rest of the lot
We're giving it
available for the frontage? What's your stance?
We're gonna give them the whole lot
The whole
as
lot.
to what the frontage is through special permit.
Yep, I
Now,
get it.
special permit might, you know, depending what is way behind that lot, it might dictate, no, you can't go beyond this point.
Sure. So you can still make that determination if it's a super deep lot that
Yeah.
they can only go so far.
Yeah, they're especially businesses.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
some places, topography will limit it, like, we both know which
Yeah.
one we're talking about.
Yeah.
The big one is 102.
Yeah.
That it's
The RB zone.
RB zone, and it's 100 feet off the road. is business. Well, you can't do much in 100 feet. So those businesses that were there were pre-existing non-conforming, but now they're gone, and once they're gone, you can't do it again once, you know.
Yeah.
So we've had some business opportunities that they say, well, you can't do it. I mean, even the parking lot can't be extending that way. So, we've looked at that, and fortunately, like you say, Gordon, if it was flat, we would have to probably put a restriction there, but I think because it goes up the mountain,
Yeah.
we won't have to worry about that. That's the big one in town. I don't know, every time you think you know all of them,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I know
something
that we
else
have
comes up.
some issues, even up on Woodland Road, where we have an I zone. And most of the zone changes happen in the middle of the road, you know, but
Yep.
not all of them. Some of them are, like you say, 100 feet off the road.
Yeah.
Have you found any that are side to side? I know it's unusual, and I don't know of any, but I didn't know if you've looked at the zoning maps and know if there's any split zones
Split.
side to side within it, or if that's, would still come under the same kind of special permit hearing that you're
Yeah,
talking about?
I think
just don't
it would
know
still,
one.
it would probably still, I
Okay.
can't think of one. Usually
can
they're,
I, yeah.
because usually they parallel the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, that would help, I know some residential folks
Yep, that too.
also, because they're residents, but then the I zone is barely out their back door, so
Yeah.
now they'd be able to extend
They
their
can't even do
residential.
they can't even
Can't,
do an
right,
accessory.
Exactly.
Built, or a, you know,
Yeah.
any accessory use.
Yeah, okay, well, that'll help me when I listen to your hearings and come to them.
You
Thank you.
listening or coming to it?
I'll probably come to them,
I know.
because I got some things to say
Of
about some
course.
of it. Anyway, but thank
Do
you,
you,
you're
do you
doing
need
a lot of work.
We'll get you a copy
That'd be great.
prior,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
so we're
Thank
all
you very
ready
much.
for you.
All right, well, I appreciate it.
Okay?
Thank you, Buck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next order of business, we have, First Congregational Church is asking for a waiver of their inspection fee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna recuse myself from the discussion on this.
So I think I'd entertain a motion to waive their inspection fee. It's a $150 fee. We do this for most nonprofits that ask, or not-for-profits.
So moved.
I'll second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next order of business, we have, we sort of missed this in our license renewals. And this is a renewal for a Class 2 auto dealership, Fraser Auto. Located 30 Runway.
Actually, it's not, I was gonna spray
Right,
your
was it?
attention.
Yeah.
No, that was just left over from Route 102 sales. That's only the memorandum, right? So as long as it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
so
right,
when it
right.
gets typed out, it'll be 139 West Park.
139 West Park.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yep. This is on the license premise, or on the next page. So, yeah, I'd entertain a motion to renew the Class 2 auto dealer license.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we renew the Fraser Auto Service annual Class 2 auto dealer license for 139 West Park Street.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next order of business, we have a Berkshire Gas permit. This is for the installation of a new gas service and a retirement of the existing main in the sidewalk. The location's 148 Bradley Street. I see we have a competent person and a sign off from the police chief and our DPW.
I did notice there's a note by DPW that they're not going to the roadway, that they stay on the sidewalk or on grass, and will that be up to, they're gonna have a detail. I don't think that's the police detail's job, but so would we just make sure that our superintendent's aware to check that out and make sure that they don't go starting into the street if they have a problem?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so.
He
That
made the
note was
note, I
from
think.
Lenny.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
just wanna
he-
make
he-
sure
he
that
did it,
note's from-
yeah.
I know it's his note, but I just wanna make sure that they actually go by while they're digging, because I don't know when they're gonna dig.
Yeah, so they'll get a copy of this permit, so
Right,
we
yeah.
can hold them to that. Yeah, so if there's no, I would entertain a motion to approve the gas permit.
I'll make a motion to approve the gas permit for 148 Bradman Street.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our next order of business here, we have an appointment. I have a letter here from Josh Bloom, who is asking to be on the Youth Commission. And I think he'd be a great addition.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we appoint Joshua Bloom to the Lee Youth Commission.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that brings us to an appointment of one of the select board members here to the Community Development Board.
Mr. Chairman, if you two don't mind, I wouldn't mind volunteering to be on that, unless somebody else has a real strong feeling to be on it.
I was gonna say the same thing, but you're welcome to it.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in working with the board, so.
I'd entertain a motion to appoint member Gordon Bailey of the Lee Select Board to the Community Development Board.
So moved.
I'll second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll just hold off, just in case. I don't think it's a problem, but I won't vote anyway.
At one abstention.
I'll abstain.
Next, I have here a list of EMS rates from our chief, Ryan Brown. Would you like to present this, chief?
If you want me to.
You can see you coming to the mic, so I wasn't.
Well, I assumed it was inevitable.
Yes.
So currently, we have EMS rates in place. At the finance committee of this meeting, they asked me, when was the last time we had a rate increase? We have not had one in my tenure. I went back to our billing agent, who we've had employed for 8 years. They have not seen a rate increase. So the finance committee asked me to look into how we compare in the region, as well as the billing company said we should try to be competitive regionally. So we looked at our current rates, which there's a number of rate structures, and I can explain them in detail if you want me to. And I worked with our billing company and a couple of local agencies to make some adjustments to keep us, I don't want to say competitive, but billing similar to similar services in the region. So we have a number of rates that we do work by. We work through ALS 1 rate, which I guess we have a bunch of acronyms in our field. ALS stands for Advanced Life Support. That's our paramedic side of our agency. BLS is Basic Life Support, which is our EMT side of our agency. A paramedic intercept is when an agency outside of our area asks for our paramedic help. By the Mass General laws, we have a duty to act when asked to provide them an advanced service. So we have a rate and we have a number of interagency agreements governed by the Office of Emergency Medical Services as to what we charge them when they basically borrow one of our paramedics in the best interest of their patient. And then we have mileage. Mileage was something that we were way low on. So what we proposed to do was, with our ALS 1 rate, and what ALS 1 is any incident that would require basic advanced life services. So it's not general first aid, but it's someone that requires a paramedic's attention and just their attention. So we propose that the ALS rate went from 2,050 flat rate on a call to 2,200. ALS 2 is when our paramedics use one or more predetermined therapies. For instance, a mixture of 2 or more drugs administered, the intubation of an airway, electric therapy for cardiac events. And we propose that that went from 3,300 to 3,400 flat rate. A BLS is something that we also offer, and by the Office of Emergency Medical Services, we can only bill what we are dispatched to. So if we're dispatched to someone with a hurt toe, and we get there and it's a hurt toe, even if it's 2 paramedics, we're still only gonna bill at the basic rate because we're only delivering a basic service. Should that hurt toe turn into a broken femur and we have to do ALS skills through documentation, we can upgrade, but we can't ever retrograde. So our BLS rate, we're proposing we go from 1,200 flat rate to 1,400 flat rate. And our mileage, we propose to going from $32 a loaded mile to $35 a loaded mile. And that is only when the patient's in the back of the ambulance. Once we get to the hospital, the return trip's on us. From the station to the house, the return, that trip is on us. They only pay for loaded mileage. On what you have there are a number of other rates listed. The paramedic intercept rate is at $250. We have agreements with agencies that surround us that actually get paramedic intercept at a lower rate. And we do that because we have reciprocal agreements with them. So if our ambulance is out and we need an ambulance, they come in and help us. But for agencies that don't want to get into an agreement, their rate's $250.
And that's gonna stay that way.
We believe, or I believe that that's fair to all parties involved. And the last one, the SCT transport that you see on the bottom of the list, that is not a service that we do anyways. So we just thought that we could keep that rate the same. We're not licensed or permitted to do that type of service. We prefer to take the investment of the townspeople and deliver 911 emergency service only. That would be for scheduled transfers and scheduled releases. We don't want to get into that business. We want to preserve the ability to provide emergency service to our taxpayers. If we were to get into that transport scenario, we could easily be somewhere in between here and the doctor's office when one of our taxpayers needs our service, and then we're calling other people to help us. I hope that all makes sense. Are there any questions of me by the board?
I don't have any currently. Bob?
No, not Gordon?
So is this, are you looking for us to, is it up to this board to vote the new fees and schedule? Does that come from this board, or does this come some other place?
It's been brought to my attention that any rate structures that are set need to be set by the Board of Selectmen.
Well, that's what I was getting
Yeah.
at, is do you want to vote on what you just presented, basically?
I would like you to either make recommendations or approve the proposed rate structure, and then set a date that we want to do this. Do we want to do this on the FY?
Right.
I could do it March 1st. I could do it tomorrow. But I think we have to be reasonable and prudent as how we execute it. But, you know,
Suggestion would be for FY '24.
yeah, I think a reasonable suggestion is we change the rate structure for the FY '24 season.
Mr. Chairman, it seems like if these rates in the expected amount is what we've been doing for years and years, that the actual increase isn't that much more.
Doesn't seem, no.
There's $150 for one of them, $100 for another one, you know.
The largest is a $200 increase.
Yeah,
so.
and that's just the one. And again, if we've been behind the curve on all this, And you said, can you just give us a hint as some other towns you may or may not, you may have checked in on to see what people are charging?
So,
Or would you rather not?
some towns weren't particularly forthcoming with
That's
the
fine.
information.
Okay.
The town of Richmond is a town that was very open and forthcoming. Their mileage is 35.
Mm-hmm.
Their BLS rate is 1,600. They only offer BLS service, they
Okay.
don't have ALS service. So I guess they need to make hay when the sun's shining, but, because they're only BLS, they're at 1,600.
Sure.
I think honestly, we're regionally middle of the road to the lower end of the spectrum. And in my opinion, seeing that we are run by the people and their taxes, we owe it to the people to give them the best rate that we can.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I mean, we're not highly regulated by the state. I could say everything's $5,000. My biggest fear is our collection rates are very good for the industry. And if we raise too much too fast, having bad debt and collecting the same amount of money isn't a good business model. So I think a reasonable update, and what our billing company recommends is that we look at it year to year with maybe a 1% rounded up or down to the nearest dollar. And I'll take that under advisement from the billing company, but I'd rather evaluate the needs of the community and the cost of the operation and see if we can find a better balancing act. I mean, I wouldn't be heartbroken if we did this and didn't revisit it for another 2 or 3 years and continue to provide the service to our community.
I don't have any other questions.
No?
So I guess at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the proposed rate increases from the chief.
This is FY.
Do you have,
As, yeah,
do you have a schedule of increases?
We do.
yeah,
Just wrote them down.
Okay.
and proposed EMS rates would increase this fiscal year 2024.
Correct.
Not immediately.
I'd make that motion.
Do I have a second?
So moved. Seconded.
If there's no further discussion, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, chief.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good, you don't wanna ask what my department does?
I already know.
I'm going somewhere where it's warm, so thank you gentlemen for your time this evening.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
All right, our next order of business, we have a baby town meeting discussion on the agenda. Sometime for a date in April is what we're looking at. I think the idea here is as we're going to an open town meeting, we'll have like an initial open meeting 101 kind of town meeting, how that gets run, right, Chris? Is that?
Yeah, so the plan, what we're thinking, I have, is to have from 6 to 7, a sort of a presentation just on how town meeting works, how an open town meeting works specifically, and then at 7, to, whenever we end, to do our traditional baby town meeting where we would go and read off each item on the warrant and see what questions and have informal discussion on that. So that's kind of the plan. We've usually tried to do it on a Thursday, about a month or so before the meeting, trying to avoid the week of April break, that would give us either the 6th, the 13th, or the 27th, which would get us right around, between 3 to 5 weeks away from the town meeting, so.
So is the town meeting on the 4th or the 11th?
The 11th.
The 11th, okay. I would think the 27th, that's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we also did it because we have to post, is it 2 weeks we have to post the town meeting warrant?
Well, minimum of 1 week for the
Oh, okay.
annual, 2 weeks for a special town meeting, but we'd like to have it out
Yeah.
before the minimum, so yeah, if we did it on, say, the 13th or something, we could still be in draft form then, and then do an official posting afterwards if you would like.
Well, I know sometimes things come up at the baby town
Yeah.
meeting and we either withdraw
Right.
from the warrant or we add things to the warrant. I just wanted to make sure that in choosing the dates, we give ourselves that flexibility.
Yeah.
So, well, the 13th would certainly give us plenty of time. 27th, we'd have to do whatever we did on May, so that we could post it by the 4th or the 3rd. So that would be a little tighter. So I guess I'd do whatever.
The only other concern I'll just bring up, and that is we've been doing baby town meetings in this room, and I wonder whether,
Yeah, so I was thinking we would get the auditorium for this,
Yeah.
plus it'll be in, there's a better, for projection too, because there'd be a presentation at first, just going through the basics of town meeting. So I would, if one of these dates works and we can decide tonight, I'll confirm with the school that we can do it at the auditorium. And then we could come back.
I'll make a motion that we schedule the baby town meeting at the school for April 13th.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on the baby town meeting? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Our next order of business is a historical society. I don't know what to call it, but we are approaching our 250th anniversary celebration in this year's to come, but I think Bill wanted to say something, or I don't see him here.
Yeah, so I did reach out earlier, but I hadn't heard back.
Okay.
So hopefully everything's okay, but we do have a few years before that, so maybe we can table this to the next meeting.
Sure.
When we have a representative here. So,
So, just a general question. Do we, how far ahead of time do you think we need to have a committee? Like, do we just lay this in the hand of the historical commission? I don't think that's right. I think that we have a lot of different people
Yeah.
involved. So when do we start gearing up?
well, they had just
2 years?
requested to be on the agenda, so, yeah, so it's a good question, though we probably should be looking at it at least a couple of years in advance,
I
so.
would think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
All right, thank you.
That's gonna bring us to the end of general business. I don't have anything further here unless there's something either you wanna bring up. But until, I'll hand it over to Chris, Town Administrator Report.
Yeah, just a couple things. We still have the committee openings are on the website. There's a number of them posted there. We did add a couple other features to that as requested. There is now a couple documents linked to that. One of them is a description. It has a little paragraph about all the committees, even ones we don't have openings on right now. So,
Nice.
and Sabrina worked very hard in getting that all together last week, so we could post it. And there's also those committees that have websites. There's hyperlinks now too, where you can click and see minutes if you want to look back at any committees that have their minutes posted, as well as the board and committee guide is all linked there. So it's right on the main page. In addition, there's also two really important surveys that are also on the main page, the hazard mitigation plan and the municipal vulnerability preparedness. That's all in one survey related to climate change that's on there, as well as the master plan, which will be open till the end of March. So both of those are there. Also, the MVP committee we'll be having an information session on March 8th at the town hall at 7 o'clock, and you can sign up to participate in person or virtually. And again, that's with climate change adaptation. So, and there's a bunch of information on the website related to it. You can find out more. So,
Mr. Chairman, could I ask him a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, when you go on our main page, I was there today. I didn't find it real easy to find. I'm just blind and not seeing these, or do I have to click on town information or boards and meetings, or what do I click on? Or is there something I missed that just says?
yep. So main page, just scroll down to news and
Okay,
announcements. and
down?
there's-
Okay.
Yeah, just scroll down and there's always 4 boxes there.
Okay.
And those.
Great.
We do have to be, sometimes like right now, there's a number of things happening. So sometimes we change which ones get but if you click on view all news, it brings a whole list of everything
great.
we've ever posted there.
Super.
So if you don't see it immediately, go down, because as things get added, it's only putting the top current ones in there. But we've tried to keep the board and committees always at the top, as well as these 2 surveys, and then been kind of rotating the others. But just click on View All News, and you'll see anything that's not there. But just lee.ma.us, scroll down, and you'll see the 4.
Well, that was my problem. I didn't scroll way down. I thought it was gonna be right up at the top like a banner.
Yeah.
So that was just, and I was only whipping by just to see where it was, so.
I can change that, we can add a
No,
banner too
no,
if
no,
we
that's-
want, but, yeah.
Now that you've explained it to folks, I think it'll be easy for people to find. I'll
We-
go back and look.
We get the one banner, and it just came down from the forum was on the banner, so
Okay.
now we have an option to add another banner.
Well, don't move it for my sake, but I'll just, I know I've done one of them, but I didn't do the other one, so I
Right.
wanna make sure I go in and do that
Yep.
second one. So, all right, thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Our next regular meeting is March 7th. And if there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.